March 31st, 2026. Well, it's end of the month and end of the first quarter of the year. So I guess it's kind of time to kind of look at the situation. Um, of course, we were treated over the weekend there to this another one of these no kings rallies, the most absurd proposition I could think of. Nobody is proposing or is going to be a king. So, but meanwhile, the people who are most against freedom and democracy, i.e., the left in this country, who are really authoritarians at heart, are out in force and now supported in part by a guy named Neville Singham, who apparently is, what would I say? He apparently lives in China, is involved with a lot of Chinese businesses, and has helped funding these crazy operations. And I have no doubt that the PRC is probably somehow involved in helping him fund this thing. So, I mean, we've got really true traitors within our system here working to, continue to cause this trouble. And so this is another example of this thing. And I'm wondering if there isn't some, of course, George Soros, our other servant of evil, is also behind this as well. And these people are really a major disease in the political system. I mean, they are really trying to promote crime. They're trying to weaken the United States in every way and any vestige of freedom. So I'm hoping that because of these Chinese connections, we could find some reason to come up with a criminal charge against this guy. Um, it's one of those kind of situations. It's tricky constitutionally to do, but and the other thing, of course, is that well, we have to be careful what we do ourselves. For instance, we mismanaged the thing so bad in Minneapolis that it completely backfired on us, which at the time I was somewhat reluctant to go in like that because I thought that the better approach would be to focus on the fraud that was going on rather than trying to do an excessive crackdown in an extremely leftist area where they're extremely organized. And so, and of course, these guys are able to recruit a large number of fairly mentally unstable people in the country who hold to their viewpoints. And of course, we see all this stuff. Whether it will really backfire on them or not, I don't know. I mean, I would hope it would, but that assumes sanity is going to prevail, and that's not always the case. So, anyhow, and of course, there's a real threat growing. I mean, as Trump's poll numbers continue to drop, I mean, his average approval is dropping to really low levels, even like down, what, about 15 points, even in generally favorable polls like the Rasmussen. That is not good. Even the most pro polls that are pro-Republican are having him down several points. On the good side, I think the generic ballot's only down about 5, so that may not be irretrievable because we've actually done fairly good in some congressional races um, with the Democrats leading in a generic ballot of that magnitude. So we'll have to see how that all plays out. Um, but there is a real threat to our future here. I mean, everybody can think things are all kind of good right now, but a lot of negative stuff is developing, and of course, we'll continue to hit those key points. By the way, if you like these videos, please give me a like, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. And you can also follow me on Rumble as I post it as well. And I think that this is one aspect of it. Of course, the war is causing a lot of this right now, and I would say that one thing I would have to point out is that President Trump really needs to work on his public statements. These continually making statements going one way and then the other. Um, Stirring up markets one way or the other. I don't know that that's the best way to go here, and I think it's leading to a loss of credibility. Um, it would be better, if nothing else, to have the statements thought out, written down ahead of time. I don't know if he has to literally read them, but he needs to kind of know what he's going to say and make some. I mean, and quit making wild comments all the time. I mean, one day we're going to completely obliterate Iran. The next day we're on the verge of peace, and then we're going to obliterate them again. Now we're back to peace. I mean, if you want to threaten to obliterate them, do it through the back channels. But but unless you're actually going to do it, I think it's probably better not to. Right now you got the Democrats saying, that we're not achieving our objectives, largely because we've never really stated clear objectives and talked about things like unconditional surrender, which is probably not going to happen. So, but at any rate, I think the political management of all these things is a big issue to consider. Um, and we need to kind of get our ducks in a row on that subject. Um, I guess now but at least by tomorrow, I guess people will be able to withdraw from their accounts, and the TSA actual agents themselves will be able to get their some pay, and hopefully that'll stabilize the workforce there. Of course, everybody else in Homeland Security practically is not getting paid, other than I guess ICE and the Border Patrol, which are being paid out of the one big beautiful bill. But I mean, and we're facing a real threat here. Look at these out and out communists running around. I mean, this is not a good situation. And on the one hand, it should be able to be used effectively against them, but it seems like somehow, because we have gotten so in the kind of strident mood that we're in, that probably that it isn't having the effect it should have, in my opinion, of turning enough independence away from the Democrats. I mean, the Democrat Party is real. It's kind of really weird. It's kind of like, while their actual popularity is kind of at an all-time low, polling seems to suggest they're going to win all the races. Not all of them, but I mean, you know what I'm saying. So it's all so many of the competitive ones, and it's like, okay, you don't like them, but you're going to vote for them. Yet we have a higher popularity level. This is an insane situation, and I don't think all the polling is fraudulent. Some of it is. I'd throw out the all-adult polls, because that includes people that clearly aren't going to vote. Even classes of people that won't vote, such as well, and I don't know. We're still fighting over the unable to pass, Save America Act. But at the same time, you have to realize that since the filibuster is going to stay in place, because there's not enough Republicans. I don't even know if a majority of Republicans are for ending the filibuster, but certainly I think we can get we can say that certainly four of them won't, and that's enough to block any effort to do that. But what we do face down the road is the Democrats will probably get in and make some incredibly radical maneuvers once they get in office. So you can fear the year 2029 very much. Unless we can win that election, this country is going to take its tailspin into an abyss. And I think that's something that has to be considered. And that's one reason why I'm a little bit like, why did we get in this war? We didn't absolutely have to do this. We could have relied on nuclear deterrence to deal with it. If Iran had 10 A-bombs, okay, so what are they going to do with them? Use them and get their whole country obliterated? It wouldn't be just a few power plants. I mean, Israel has enough nuclear strike capacity on their own to pretty much destroy Iran completely, and have enough left over to tell anybody else that wants to join in not to do it. So do you think? So my point is, and if they didn't, we could ourselves. I mean, so I think that while it'd be good to get rid of the nuclear weapons, I'm hearing people talking about a commando raid that's going to go into 3 different locations, but where the enriched uranium potentially is stored, and somehow take it out of there. I mean, to me, this strikes me as a mission very unlikely. I mean, it could end up being an ambush. They could get into tunnels that are rigged for demolition and all be buried in there. I mean, we have to see that even the big success in Venezuela was very close to being a big failure. But fortunately, with the heroic action of 2 wounded pilot and co-pilot of a helicopter, he managed to get it down and to apparently get the gun, the Gatling gun, I guess, pointed in the right direction to wipe out most of the threat. That could have gone totally different, and the whole assault team could have been in an inferno. And I'm saying that, if we keep playing high-risk maneuvers like this, particularly in this political environment, I think we have to be, realize the risk we're taking and the risk for the future of the country that we're taking here. I mean, so we'll have to see where we're going. At the present time, we still have to come to some kind of an outcome. The discussion right now is kind of going along the idea that, that we got some better people to deal with. Well, there are people talking to us, but given the threat, we could actually go in and obliterate all their electric power plants and a bunch of oil facilities and so forth. It's such a big threat that I'm sure there are people that are going to talk to us to try to slow us down, if nothing else. But are they really going to come through with the goods? And so mainly, I think what we have to do is we need to get them to agree to open the Strait of Hormuz and then end up with some kind of a ceasefire, because we'll see if we can get a real win, but I don't think this is going to turn out where we'll have an absolutely compliant Iran. I really don't think that's going to happen. Because look, they can see the polling data that I'm looking at themselves, and and they realize that we're not getting a lot of popular support for this because we didn't build up enough popular support for it. And even when you had a conflict like the war in Iraq, where we did have it approved by Congress ahead of time, a lot of the support had waned toward the end, and then probably we were saved a little bit because the Democrats had a really poor candidate. And maybe that's what will save us in 2028 election, if they have a really bad candidate. After all, Nixon's popularity was probably somewhere where about Trump is right now going into the 92 election, the 72 election, sorry about that, and would probably have, you would thought would have heading to defeat, but in fact he won in a landslide. And if he hadn't had some, well, we don't know this date whether really he actually ordered the break-in at the Watergate, or whether it was just some of his lower level people got carried away with themselves. We really don't know that, because they'd been breaking into a bunch of other things that were more of a national security nature, like the Ellsberg psychiatrist. But I digress going into that old history. But the point I'm making is, you can theoretically come back from where we are now and have a good outcome. But I'd also point out that I don't believe Nixon did that good in the 1970 congressional elections. So, which is why we were in such a bad shape once Watergate broke. The Democrats had such large majorities that, well, that's kind of the way that occurred. And so, at any rate, anyhow, that's kind of my thoughts for today on this. That we got this enemy within, which is trying to weaken criminal prosecution of violent criminals, trying to keep criminal aliens in the country that got here illegally, and to swarm the country with illegal aliens. Then later on, if they end the filibuster and get control of all the government, they could then legalize these people en masse. And then we'd be in a situation where we might not be able to get control of the country for a long time. And by that time, what would be left of it? And so, at any rate, that's kind of my thought for today on this. Maybe slightly negative, but nonetheless, we'll have to look at a few other things. As far as I know, General McCaslin is still missing. The conflict is kind of going as it was. I think that the Iranians are kind of losing a little impetus right now, but they're still able to destroy tankers trying to go through the Strait of Hormuz. And so there we are. So we can only hope for the best on all that. I'll be posting this on YouTube and Rumble as always, and the address of my social media accounts are in the description below, all for this time.